Yeah. The rates have been really strong, especially out of Nashville.
Okay.
And there seems to be plenty of freight. I've worked with a handful of brokers who've been using ATS a lot. They've been really good. And they've got an app where you can just, book stuff right on there. So that's real convenient. Compared to what I was getting just doing the power only with dry van, rates are almost double what that is. So that's been really nice.
That was the voice of Kevin Bruns, owner-operator headquartered today in Gallatin, Tennessee, just north of Nashville here, where I'm based, and got the opportunity to meet up with Bruns this past week. He was talking there about his transition about a month and a half back to step deck work after reestablishing his authority almost 2 years back. Seems June Trucker of the Month, Scott Smith, about whom I wrote yesterday, isn't the only owner-operator out there making hay of platform work anew in this quite interesting year so far for freight. I'm Todd Dills, your host for this July 1st, 2025 edition of the Overdrive Radio podcast, where we'll walk through Kevin Bruns' purchase of his 2019 Cummins-powered International Lone Star. After several years of local dump truck ownership and work around quarries and construction sites here in the Nashville region. That followed earlier experience with Authority hauling cars a couple decades back based outside Chicago, where Bruns is originally from, then pneumatic tanker work as a company driver. All of it in prep of a fashion for where the owner-operator is today. Married with 2 young children, a great-looking house out in Gallatin, and back out on his own with Authority as Bruns Trucking. With Authority age requirements so many brokers have today, up until recently he's hauled power only with dry vans for several large outfits. He's now testing the waters with the step deck trailer fairly recently purchased. And he's making plenty time for outside pursuits, too. One of the reasons we came together last week was his impending competition in the semi-Stampede, an uphill truck drag racing due south of Cleveland. Bruns attended with his son last year and competed in the stock class this time around, just this past weekend. Here he is setting that up for me last week.
The event's called Semi-Stampede, and it's Coonley Motorsports Park. So the owner of Coonley Brothers Trucking bought a drag strip, and it was like a regular, drag strip, quarter mile for cars, and then he built on the uphill drag racing course, and he also has an area for sled pulling for like tractor pulls, truck pulls, and that too. And I actually found just videos on YouTube years ago from Canada of guys that would do this, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, because they're 4,000 horsepower, twisting the frame, go 110,000 pounds uphill, but nobody did it in the United States. South America, it's pretty big too, I guess. And one drag strip in northern Michigan up in the UP has events there. And then Coonley Brothers started it, so it's a little closer down south of Cleveland in that area. And so we just decided to check it out and go last year to spectate. And it was awesome. We just had a blast. We went to the one in the fall in October, and my son loves it. I mean, he's just loves anything to do with trucks. We can go down the road and he'll say, "Oh, that's a Mack, that's a Peterbilt, that's and so going to these events and stuff is just a lot of fun to share with him. And I'm just going to race my truck in the stock class, so. Just for fun, really. No, I'm just gonna do bobtail. Okay. I don't need to throw my drive shaft down.
Owner-operator Kevin Bruns shared a video from competition you can find linked in the show notes and in the post that houses this podcast. Bruns got outrun in that one by Pete, unfortunately, but I'm certain the experience was nonetheless one to remember. Before we're done, Bruns' trucking career in miniature, and his efforts to build the network in and around Gallatin, Tennessee for maintenance, for freight, for life and music, too. This is Nashville, after all. Keep tuned for more with the Singin Trucker, owner-operator Kevin Bruns.
Hot weather, dry roads,
dust blowing through every vent. Summer's tough on your diesel engine, and bad fuel makes it worse. Howe's Diesel Defender cleans your system, fights wear, and boosts lubricity, keeping your engine cool, clean, and protected. Now available in half gallons, quarts, and the all-new 15-ounce bottle, perfect for diesel pickups and smaller tanks. When the heat's on, defend your diesel with Howe's. Find it at retailers nationwide and on Amazon.
Visit HOWES, HowesProducts.com for more about all of the Howes Company's fuel treatments. Here's Kevin Bruns, setting us up with information about the truck in which we recorded this week's edition. Here we go.
Yeah, I bought it about a year and a half ago. It's a 2019 International Lone Star. It's got the 500 horse, 1,850 foot-pounds of torque, X15 Cummins. It's a 18-speed transmission, 355 rears, 260-inch wheelbase, and it's got full locking differentials. It was a Canadian truck, actually, so the analog gauge is in kilometers.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I think the guy pulled an RGN with it that had it previously because it had the marks where the ramps were on the frame and everything, and with the 18 speed and that. And these were actually really popular trucks in Canada, I guess. I mean, you don't really see a lot of them. And that's one thing I think is kind of cool about it, is because it kind of draws attention because you don't see them that much. And they didn't hold their value very well, so I got a really good deal on it. I had a tri-axle dump truck I ran locally in Nashville and decided to sell that and get a road tractor again. And I found this at a dealer in Indiana. And I was talking to them and I said, okay, let me sell my truck, and I called them up once I sold my dump truck. And they said, oh, we just sent it to auction today. And I said, oh, no. And they go, well, you can bid on it, So I went, because it was a public auction and it was up in Rockford, Illinois. So I bid on it. It was pretty cool because I've done eBay auctions, but I've never done like a live internet auction. And I just put in the highest bid. The dealer had it listed for $57,000, and I ended up getting it for $43,000 at the auction. So it ended up working out. Right? Yeah. And it, it needed a little work because it had over $500,000. It had like $520,000, I think, when I got it. So I had to put a little money into it, so that kind of worked. But it really just, I was impressed with how good the truck rides and how comfortable it is, because I've driven for two different companies and had, Peterbilt 589, 379s, Kenworth, T660, 680s, and I have to say this thing rides better than all of them, yeah. And I was at Matt's, the Mid-America Truck Show, and was talking to a guy with like a 72 Kenworth he restored, and he put international suspension on it because he said it rides the best. Okay, parts are available, Right. So I've been really happy with it. And I was looking at like Peterbilt 389s or a Kenworth W900, and they were literally double the price. Yep. And it has the same engine, same transmission, same differentials, and just a bigger hood, and really, some of them were a little longer wheelbase, but this is a pretty good 260. Yeah, and it's good for, if I was hauling something heavier, it's not to keep weight off the steers and that makes it ride better too. I actually originally started my own business when I first got into trucking like 13 years ago, and had my own authority hauling cars, and I did that again a year and a half ago because in Nashville you don't need a DOT number like if you just run in Tennessee, run a dump truck. So I started up a DOT number again, and then no one will work with you now because there's so much fraud, and it's just, there's only like 2 or 3 brokers I could work with. So I just hauled power only for Werner and JB Hunt, and I did a account for Walmart for the holidays until I got my year, and then moved over to the step deck, and been doing it for about a year and a half, or about a month and a half now.
Okay, wow, that's
very
new.
Yeah, and honestly, I did flatbed for a short time. I hauled steel for like 3 months before I went to Hoffman, because they ended up calling me. and moved over to them. So I had a little bit of flatbed experience doing steel, and my friend that I got the trailer from, who kind of taught me everything, he went with me on a run and kind of went over a lot of the load securement stuff, and he's helped me out a lot. And actually, he's like kind of taught me. When I met him when I was 19, and he's got a heavy duty towing company, so I would ride around with him in his tow trucks. And Dazzo's Towing in Batavia, Illinois. It's like 45 minutes west of Chicago, and he's got now huge, 75-ton rotators. He just bought a brand new W900 rotator. He does do if you park someone you're not supposed to, he tows those cars too. Like we towed a semi truck. I helped him last weekend because he was parked at a grocery store parking lot for 4 days or whatever, and they can't have that. And it's something that has to be done. It's too bad, and you hate to charge these people, but if the business doesn't want you parking there, that's how it goes sometimes. But no, he runs a very honest business, and that's why he's successful. He started when he was 18. He rented one bay at this shop and grew into, he does truck repair too. So he does truck repair, service, like road service, heavy duty towing, light duty towing, and grew from one old tow truck and one shop to one bay to a whole shop. And
That would be Bob Dazzo's Auto Repair and Towing in Batavia, Illinois. Among Kevin Bruns' important influences going back to his early days hauling hotshot with a 3-car trailer out of an Illinois home base, all the way up to now with the step deck, with just a short time under his belt as yet.
The first run we did, we went all the way out to Montana because he had a friend with a truck out in Glacier Park, because he was doing work for some people that have this beautiful horse farm out there. So he took a load of cattle fencing all the way out there to Tractor Supply, and picked up this truck for him coming back, because it's really hard to get anybody to pick anything up out there because you're in the middle of nowhere. So that was a lot of fun to kind of do that and team drive out there. We drove straight out there 26 hours. But so it's I enjoy flatbed because it's more of a challenge. You get out of the truck and get some exercise, and you're doing different stuff. It's not just bumping a dock or whatever. And that's what I always liked about doing the tanker work too that I did was, we would load our own trucks. We hauled plastic pellets and pneumatic tankers, so you'd have to place it properly or you'd be overweight on your axles, and you can't slide anything on those, so you have to have it right, or you're out of luck. Gotcha. And I found just anything you can do in trucking that's more of a niche, that is more difficult or less people are doing, you're going to make more money. That's just how it is, especially with as a company driver, I did really well with tankers. So I started out in the automotive industry as an automotive technician, managed automotive shops, service advisor at dealerships, and kind of wanted to make a change. And I always wanted to get into trucking, and I honestly just kind of stumbled upon the auto hauling because I looked into hauling RVs because I had a 3/4 ton diesel pickup, and I found that that wasn't bad, but auto hauling paid better, and you could get into it starting your own company. So there was this forum called Auto Expediters, and the guy that started it just had a step-by-step guide on how to get your own authority, how to get your plates, how to get onto the load board, and everything. So I just followed that step by step, and then a lot of the guys on there were really helpful. If you had questions and stuff, they would answer. And again, my friend Bob at Dazzo's helped me a lot too, because I did a lot of towing with him, and you're securing cars on a flatbed just the same as like a auto carrier basically. Yeah. So I just kind of jumped in and did that, and had a 1-ton dually pickup and a 3-car trailer, and did that for about 1.5 years. Bought a 6-car trailer and a semi from my friend. It was a 99 Freightliner FLD. Okay. I wish I still had that truck.
Find a picture of that 1999 FLD toting the 6-car hauler in the post that houses this podcast for July 1st, 2025 at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio.
It was a Cat C12, so pulling that auto trailer, I got like 7.5, 8 miles per gallon and a 13 speed in it. It was a really nice truck. He had rebuilt the engine on it, and I just it got to be a little too much to do by yourself, especially if you were booking 6 cars in 6 different places, picking up and dropping in 6 different places. And I just got kind of frustrated with it, decided to become a company driver, and went to A&R Transport. And that's hauling plastic pellets and the vacuum pneumatic trailers. And they were a very well-known company, and it was, a family-owned company and everything, and they ended up selling out, and it's changed hands several times. But I still got great knowledge there, and, I made good money, and it got me into working at Hoffman Transportation, which does the same thing, and that was just an amazing company to work for. Still owned by the original owner. His son's the vice president, and his daughter is the I forget what her title is, like assistant vice president. And so it's all family owned, and he paid our health insurance 100%. I mean, you can make over $100,000 a year, no problem there. And they're making well over that now, I hear. And I did that I worked for them for about 6 years, and then just kind of wanted to do my own thing again. And I just had my son, and he was like 6 months old, and with Hoffman I was, we would do local stuff too, but I'd be gone 2 or 3 nights during the week usually. And so I was looking to do something local, and a couple of the guys had bought dump trucks and started doing that. Looked into that, and I ended up doing that. I bought a 2006 T800 with a C15 Caterpillar in it, and a tri-axle dump truck. And so that was nice to be home every night, but it's also very stressful, especially around here. Like, you have to go to places that are like up a mountain almost sometimes to get to. They're building houses everywhere here now, and it's when you run for the quarry, you go wherever they tell you, So, sometimes it'd be nice and easy. It'd just be a construction site. You pull right in. Other times it's a guy with a farm, and you got to go 2 miles back in this gravel road. But it ended up working out nicely being home, and especially because, well, right when I started doing it, pretty much, my son, when he was 1.5 years old, was diagnosed with leukemia.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, so, and I hauled for Rogers Group here, and I just started with them that week, and I told them, like, I'm not going to be able to be there for weeks, and I'll probably only be able to work 1 or 2 days a week because we have to go to chemo and all this, and they were totally understanding, and were like, because I thought maybe, they need people there or whatever, but they said, just come and work whenever you can, and, and so it worked perfect to be home through that, and he got through that. He's a healthy little kid now, and he'll be 5 in September. So, he's been off treatment for a little over a year. Yeah, if you see my truck number's 910, and then the trailer number's 526. That's my daughter's birthday. That way you don't forget him.
Is he younger than him?
Yes, yeah, she just turned 3. So.
Okay.
The dump work was wearing thin for him, and he sensed opportunity elsewhere, OTR, with stress on the home life reduced as his son's treatment was over. For that Kenworth T800, too, dump work was
really hard on those trucks, like going off-road. They're loaded. We'd haul 74,000 pounds on a straight truck, so it was tough on the truck, and also he was finishing up with his treatment, so I could do this and be gone for, a little longer. And eventually I planned to find more local moves and stuff, and like advertise, get my own business for like equipment moves with like Ritchie Brothers and stuff like that. So yeah, that kind of, both of those things influenced it. And And honestly, like, this is so much less stress than running a dump truck. Like, it was nice to be home, but yeah, like when you're trying to spread and got the bed up in the air at uneven angles where you're gonna roll your truck over, it's some days can be rough. I mean, you can make really good money with it. I will say that I definitely made good money doing it, and it's convenient because you can just run over there, and if you need to leave early that day, you go home at 1 o'clock and be home, or whatever you want to do. They were really flexible and good people to work for sure. You're an independent contractor for Rogers Group, basically, is how it works. You have your own company, and then you haul. They pay you by the ton. So yeah, so each load is, and then the longer the load is, the better the per ton rate is. And especially if you get some close runs, like we had some jobs that were right by the quarry, and you could just get 12, 15 loads in a day. You get, some good money and not run a ton of miles at all, really. So
if you missed my story about June Trucker of the Month, Scott Smith, published Mondays, June 30th, check it out for a little about a custom spreadsheet Smith designed for per ton compensated work he does with a hopper trailer outbound from and back into an Arkansas home base. It effectively calculates per ton rates for loads per mile and allowed for fuel and other expense analysis as well to better allow him to recognize economic liabilities of some load offers. In any case, owner-operator Kevin Bruns' transition to the step deck in his 2019 International Lone Star won't necessitate that same kind of analysis, given broker freight he's running thus far is as usual an all-in rate per load, generally speaking. And since his experience with Authority hauling cars back nearly 2 decades ago now, things have changed mightily with brokers' carrier onboarding tools. You hear a lot of complaints about some onboarding tech providers' carrier vetting systems, now they can impact new operations, yet for Bruns, there's a significant advantage comparing today's broker freight world to the auto haul world where he worked in the past with Authority.
And what's kind of nice now, like, it was tough. I remember starting up hauling cars. Every time you would haul for a new company, I'd be in my truck. Like, this is before I even had like something I could scan with. I had a scanner in my truck, filling out carrier packets, faxing them in or whatever to brokers. And now you can just be on Highway. It's like an app that all the brokers are on. You have all your stuff on there. They just send you an invitation. They want to work with you, and you fill everything out. You put in your, direct deposit information, W-9, voided check, all that. Boom, boom. It takes like 2 minutes. So that is really nice, because if you're trying to book stuff out on the road with a new carrier, then it can be difficult. But yeah, that's been nice. Unless it's a real small broker, almost everybody seems to really use that now.
Use something like that,
mm-hmm. Or they'll have their own app, and you do it through that and just sign, and it's nice, easy to set up. So yeah, and like when I first set up Highway, it was a little. It takes some time, but once you're got it going, then it's so much easier. Because I used to hate that. Like, you'd be out somewhere and, there's one car, I want to pick up, but I haven't worked with this broker. So I'm trying to fill out the carrier packet, get my insurance company to send the certificate, and then they gave the car to someone else. Some other dispatcher gave it to someone else before I could get it all filled out. But now it's just, much quicker, and that definitely is a nice convenience for sure.
He's been putting the miles on the 2019 Lone Star since restarting that Authority nearly 2 years ago now.
It's got 667,000 miles on it now, and it hasn't been rebuilt. It's like when I got it, I was a little concerned because when I was pulling up a hill loaded, I would get a code for high crankcase pressure, and it does have some blow by. Of course, it's it had over 500,000 miles, and one shop I just had look at it. They think you need to rebuild the engine, of course, but I had my other technician look at it, and he said, as long as it's not burning coolant, pulls good, put some Lucas in it. And so this is the first emissions truck I've owned. Yeah, I've driven them as a company driver, and like when I worked at Hoffman, they had their own the oven to bake the filters to clean them, because they would do it every year no matter what. Because 1 year I think they spent $85,000 replacing TPF filters. So they just bought that machine, and but as soon as I got the truck, I had it baked and everything, and went through with that. And really, all I've had on the emission side is just sensors and stuff go bad. And I had these have a common issue with the exhaust manifold bolts breaking.
Oh, really?
Because I guess of the way the turbo's mounted, like it puts stress on that rear bolt. And I was out in Texas, and it snapped, and it whistles like a steam engine. Like, you hurt your ears, it's so loud, because that metal exhaust manifold gasket turns into a reed, and and that was, to get that fixed, I had a local shop here. He's an older mechanic, because he had to one of the bolts, there's two that were snapped. One he got out with like an easy out, and the other one probably broke off 6 months ago but wasn't leaking. And he's like, that is not coming out. So he was able to drill it out with a machinist bit, and it took him forever, but he got it done, put a helicoil in it, and it's been good, because he called Cummins to get the parts, and they go, oh yeah, when those break, we don't even mess with that, we just put a head on it. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to spend $15,000. And I think he charged me $1,700 for the whole thing to get it done. So, because he's an older guy, he's been doing it forever, and that's the old school stuff that, like, they don't even mess with that anymore. Like, they take the head off and send it to a machine shop and have it drilled out. And he's local in Gallatin. He actually, at Young's Truck Service, they've been there forever. His dad had it for years and years. He just passed away, and now Tim, he's taken it over. So
Tim,
yep. And so I have him do, and then I've started also using, there's a company called All Pro Diesel. The guy Israel I met because I needed something done right away. I was on a Walmart dedicated account, and you can't really miss a day when you're on that, or they'll kick you off. And I had a water pump leaking, and I got a hold of him, and he came to my house and did it. Wow. Had a guy here at 6:30 in the morning the next day, and cool. Yeah, so he's been doing a lot of work for me too, and it's just convenient because he'll just pull up with a service truck and do it right at my shop. So that's the other huge thing with being an owner operator, is like, so many shops, your truck will just sit for a week before they even look at it, especially around here. Everybody's so busy and has a hard time finding technicians. And, I mean, it's not even the repair costs that get you, it's the lost revenue from the truck just sitting. So it's so crucial to have someone that can, and I do light work myself. My back is bad, so trying to do anything heavy is no good. But, I do all, like, more diagnostic, electrical, stuff like that. Anything I can do myself, I try to, because it's,
Sure.
As labor rates rack up very quickly. I'm actually looking into hooking up a poor man's electric APU now. My friend just did it. You can get these cheap, like, they're basically just mini splits from eBay or whatever for $450, and he did a whole lithium battery setup with like an inverter and solar panels, and he can run it for like 14 hours on half of the battery life, and so you don't have to idle, and it's a little better for the truck. And I also travel with my dog, so if I go out somewhere, you got to let the truck run with the AC, so it'd be nice. And he can like monitor it from his phone, and so he would know if like something happened and it shut off or whatever. So what I was going to do first, like, they'll either use like a roof unit from an RV, or they have like kind of like that mini split unit and then run a gas generator. But with these, like what my brother did with his RV, is you take 2 golf cart batteries and then you run them in series. They're 6-volt batteries. So you run them in series to get 12 volts, and then they have a huge reserve capacity, and you run them forever. And then you just put a solar panel on the roof and then charge it like that way. So, and then you still can get the weight exemption for the APU with electric APU. You just have to show what everything weighs, and then they give you that, extra. So, like, if you get one of those roof units, you got to cut a big hole in the roof or something like that. And this, all you got, is just the lines to come in. And I found one that mounts on the frame, so you won't even see it on the back of the truck, and and then just run them underneath, and I'm gonna run them up, and I saw one guy mounted it like back on the wall there, and you can hardly even see it. So, because idling's like the worst thing you can do for your engine, especially with emissions controls and all that. It hurts the DPF, and and just using fuel too, And I can never sleep that great in a running truck anyway, so it would be nice to have something to be able to shut the truck off and have climate control, so.
Get over to overdriveonline.com and look up my past story about Chad Fowler's solar-powered Pete 379. Fowler had done something similar when we wrote about his unit in 2020, though he utilized a roof AC. If you've set up a no-idle system like what Kevin Bruns described here, utilizing a mini-split, reach out and send us a few pictures and tips for setting things up right. Speaking of which, Bruns' Sleeper, he's also set up as a mobile recording studio of the fashion. As yes, he's not only an owner-operator and stock truck drag racer now, but also a longtime singer, guitarist, and songwriter who, as you'll hear in what follows, now actively shares music via his Singin Trucker profiles on social media, too.
I've been kind of singing forever. I just started out in choir. I like to sing, and my mom's friend told her that I should try out for this children's choir that they did, and I did that and kind of got into it and really enjoyed it. Sang all through high school, and I went to community college and did ensemble groups and choirs and all types of stuff. And then when I was like 22 or something like that, 21, I picked up the guitar again. I learned electric for a couple years when I was a kid, and I picked up the guitar again so I could start singing at like open mics, and started doing that and really enjoyed it. And I got hooked up with a band. I was actually at Guitar Center, and they just had a flyer up that they were looking for a lead singer, and I thought, why not? Let's give it a try. And
what's the band called?
Below the Zone. Okay. Yeah, that's one of the guys in the band was in the Air Force, and that's like an Air Force promotion. And I thought that sounded like a cool band name, so we used that. But and we were together for, 10, 12 years, something like that. Became really good friends and did tons of shows. For a while, we were doing shows every weekend, every other weekend at different bars and stuff around the Chicago suburbs. And then I did solo shows myself. I had a bar that I would play at like every Friday night down the road from my house and just do solo acoustic sets. And then moved down to Nashville and didn't get to do a lot right away because COVID hit right after we moved here. And had 2 kids and that whole thing, so didn't have a lot of time on my hands. But I actually met somebody that's a songwriter here. He just wrote a song for Thomas Rhett, actually, and he got me into one of the songwriter rounds in Nashville, which was a really cool experience where you go up on the stage with like 3 other people. It's all original music. You play 3 or 4 songs and just kind of go down the line. And what's cool is you'll be here playing, and then the guy next to you is playing some famous hit country song, and you're like, oh, so that's the guy that wrote it, that Luke Bryan song or whatever. And so it's very competitive here too. Yeah. And if you're just a hobby musician like I am, trying to get shows, it's near impossible because people are trying to make their living on it, which I totally understand that. But yeah, so I've played a couple different songwriter rounds. There's a couple of small places I just did shows at, and open mics and stuff like that. And then when I'm on the road, I do open mics whenever I'm kind of near any major city. I'll just look on Facebook and, like I did one in Fort Worth and Alabama. I was down by the Walmart account I was at. I was down by Birmingham, so I'd go down there. There's an awesome bar that I played at, and just, all over the place. So, and then I also make videos to put on like Facebook and Instagram. I made like kind of a little studio in the truck. I got a little iRig that sets up, and I can connect to my guitar and a microphone and record in here. So
you can find some of owner-operator, singer, and songwriter Kevin Bruns' music via his Facebook and Instagram profiles, where he's the Singin Trucker there. That's without the G on the end of singing. I'll post links to some of them in the show notes and in the post that houses this podcast to start the month of July. Here's wishing everybody a great July 4th holiday this Friday, whether at home or over the road. And a big thanks to owner-operator Bruns for his time. As noted, find that drag race vid in cab in the post that houses this podcast at overdriveonline.com/overdrive-radio. I'll link to it in the show notes, too, wherever you're listening. Overdrive Radio is on Spotify and SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, Overdrive's Facebook page, and any listening platform, really. Leave us a review there if you're enjoying these, and a big thanks in advance for it. Always, a big thanks to you for listening. Overdrive Radio is a production of Overdrive, the voice of the American trucker. It's edited and produced by me, Todd Dills, with the acoustic guitar and other support of trucker-songwriter Long Haul Paul Marhofer. The theme is Legend of the Snake Man by Marhofer, featuring the guitar work of Travis, the Snake Man himself, Whammick, Terry Two Socks Richardson on bass, keys by Tisha Mingo, Jim Whitehead, and on drums, Andrew Marshall. The podcast is backed up further by Overdrive's own social media coordinator, Jasmine Campbell, senior editor, Matt Cole, executive editor, Alex Lockie, and video editors, Lawson Rudisell and Andrew Gwynn. See you next week.